If you would turn to Proverbs chapter 15. You know, yesterday, it was so neat when that auditorium started filling up, and I mean, it was amazing, and you could just feel the faith of those girls, the excitement that they had coming to church, being in that place that, you know, God wanted to be in. And when the guard came in, and she was just doing her job. And every guard does it different. Every one of them do it different. I know they all have the same book, but they all do it different. But my point was that when she started, and she told them when they come in there what she expected of them. She stood right there in front of every one of them and says, I expect you, she said, by chaplain's orders, I expect you to sit by a bunk number. There was no, there's no question what she wanted. Yet they came in there with an expectation of what they wanted. They came in there with an idea and a plan that they had devised in their mind, and when it got to the time, then it crushed me. And not because the officer was doing what she was doing, because I understand authority. They understand authority. Yet they became, the look on their faces, it crushed me because they allowed that to disappoint them. And you know, I was laying this morning, I was laying there, and how many times the Lord, I was asking him, what do you want me to talk about? Where are we going with this today? And I just laid there, and that word rose up in my spirit, disappointment. And how many times we allow situations to disappoint us. You know, we had good church. We had 216, something like that. I don't remember. We'd have probably had 300 girls in there, I would imagine. I mean, it would have been almost full. I think that thing holds 4 something. But how many times we allow little things to frustrate us because it doesn't line up with what we want. It doesn't figure into our plan. It doesn't go in the direction that we think it ought to go. It's kind of like you go to the grocery store and you know you're going to have to check out. And everybody in that store has to check out the same way. Yet you get your stuff and you head toward the line and you get in total disappointment because there's 6 people ahead of you. Well, why didn't you stay home? Just like them coming to church. You run in there and let's just have church, and it wasn't the way they thought. There were rules before they ever showed up. They knew they were going to have to obey rules. Yet we get something set in our mind, and that word disappointment is frustration. We get frustrated. We get tired of hearing that, but it's the truth. When things don't line up the way we think they ought to line up, we just want to shut everything down and go to the house. And how, you know, when I think of Mark 4:15, the devil comes to immediately steal the seed of God that's sown. The seed that's sown, the Word of God that's sown. Those girls didn't even allow themselves to get in place. You know, I've seen this in church. In free world church, I've seen people come in, look through the center door and see who was preaching, and if it wasn't who they liked, they turned around and literally went to the house. How many times do we allow the enemy to steal from us, and then it's everybody else's fault? Everybody was griping about that guard. It was not the guard's fault. Just like going to the grocery store, it's not the checker's fault. She didn't say she should have sent you a notice and say, okay, we're going to have 300 in here today. You need to wait till 2 o'clock to come. It's what it is. Where is your focus? Who are you relying on? Where is your trust and confidence? In Proverbs 15, verse 22, it says, where there's no counsel, purposes are frustrated, but with many counselors they are accomplished. In the King James it says, without counsel, purposes are disappointed. When you read down in chapter 16, it says, the plans of the mind and orderly thinking belong to man, but from the Lord comes the wise answer of the tongue. All the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirits, the thoughts and intents of the heart. Roll your works upon the Lord. Commit and trust them wholly to Him. He will cause your thoughts to become agreeable, man, I like this, to His will. So shall your plans be established and succeed. You know, I think so much of how Jesus said, I only say what I hear the Father say, do what I see the Father do. If that would be our plan and intent of every day. You know, the Bible says in Romans 10, I believe it's verse 13, says, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. And whosoever shall call upon Him will not be disappointed. See, when we call on God's structure, when we call on His plan, His purpose, when, you know, I get so excited in thinking of, there's times when I get disappointed, but it's because of my expectancy in natural things. You know, human things. You know, it doesn't bother me as much as it used to, but it really used to bother me when somebody would say, well, I'm disappointed in so-and-so. And why? Well, I just expected more out of them. They're people. They're human. You know, we set expectations in people and things, and then when they don't follow the way or our thoughts and plans the way we thought, then we get all frustrated and disappointed and get down in the mully grubs, and we don't have a right to be. We don't have a right to expect from somebody else. You know, you can teach somebody something and show them something, but they still have to go on their own abilities. If they're following the plan of God and you're following the plan of God, then you're going to succeed. But that's where our focus has to be. It can't be in expecting somebody to follow our plan. You know, I get tickled when somebody says, well, I thought this is the way we're going to do it. Yeah, but you didn't say anything. So you didn't communicate the way you wanted it done. And then when it wasn't done, it kind of reminds me of an experience I had years ago welding. This young man, he was a fresh helper. And he come in and they introduced me to him, and I just took for granted he was a good helper or knew what he was doing. And I told him I just put the bead, welded a bead in this piece of pipe, the stringer bead, and it has to be ground to a certain degree to put the next pass in. And this young kid, after being introduced to him, I said, it was cold, we were in the bottom of an area. It was really kind of muggy. But anyway, I said, well, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. I said, go ahead and grind that bead out, and I'm going to go get a cup of coffee, and I'll be back in a few minutes. So I went on, and I come back, and the pipe that I had welded together with the first bead was sitting there in two pieces. And I looked at this, and my heart dropped. I mean, it just went kaboom. And this kid standing there just, got it done, you know. And I walked over to him and I looked and I says, he said, how's that look? I ground that bead out. Does that look good? And yeah. I said, but that's not exactly what I wanted. And I said, it's not your fault, it's my fault. And I had enough foresight to understand that it was my command that he followed, of all that he understood of it. And he did exactly what I said to do, grind the bead out, I'll be back. So I said, well, let me help you clean this up and let's put it back together. And his jaw dropped. And I said, it's okay. It's all right. You didn't do anything wrong. I said, I did wrong by not explaining to you exactly. I said, let's put it back together and I'll show you something. So, got the pipe cleaned up, got another bead put in it, and I says, this is what I mean. From now on, when I say grind the bead out, all I mean is take the rough off of it. and there's two lines that follow that bead around. It's called the wagon tracks. I said, leave the wagon tracks, I'll burn them out. He didn't know any terminology. He didn't have any idea what I was talking about. And he was relying on me to give him instruction, and I did. So it was up to me to make it clear. And I guess my train of thought is, so many times we're not clear about instruction. You know, the Bible, I was preaching about this the other day about wisdom. If you and I lack wisdom, ask God. He doesn't want us to be confused. He has well-laid plans, and he doesn't mind us stopping and saying, is this what you want? Are you sure this is what you want me to do? Sure. But he expects us to trust him. You know, don't trust mine and your intellect. When he says trust in the Lord with all your heart, don't lean on your own intellect. But all your ways acknowledge him. He'll direct your path. He doesn't want us to be disappointed. You know, I looked at those girls' faces, and some of them were crying when they walked out of there because they were so frustrated that, and some of them, I heard them say, well, I just wanted to come in here and worship God. I understand that, but you're in prison. You're in a place that you have to conform to all the rules. You have to follow the rules. It doesn't matter, day or night, it don't matter. There's rules in everything that they do in there. And they know that better than I do. So they shouldn't have been disappointed. They should have kept their focus. And sometimes that's easy to say. You know, you got all these girls, it's just like one said, I'm going, the next one, I'm going. And they have that option. They don't have to come to church. But that's just like me and you. We don't have to be obedient to God. But if we are obedient to God, we're going to see the fruit of God's plan manifest in our life. We won't be disappointed if we follow his word right down to the letter. See, that's the thing.